Jude JuJu, the Ambassador of Estrogen, here with another dulcet book review fit to pleasure your ears. Do you like monsters? Are you a monster? If you answered yes to either, sit down, pop the earbuds in, and pay attention. It's story time. I Am Legend, written by Richard Matheson, was first published in 1954. It's about a post-apocalyptic world set in the early 1970s. In this world, civilization has been devastated by a plague which has left one survivor, Robert Neville, alone in his house, living every day out in depression and alcoholism. In the movie version starring Will Smith, Robert Neville is a military virologist striving to find a cure. The original book version of Neville is very different. He's not a doctor. He's just some guy. He eventually learns the cause of the plague by scavenging science books and a microscope and teaching himself science. In the movie, Neville goes from house to house on supply runs looking for food and medical supplies. In the book, he's not looking for supplies. He's looking for vampires to exterminate. When the sun rises, the vampires all fall into a slumber resembling a coma, which makes them very easy to kill. Neville hunts them down. Men, women, children, vampire babies. He puts a stake in all of them. The movie version of Neville is a much more palatable version than Book Neville. Book Neville is dark and solitary with a tunnel vision mission to destroy as many vampires as he can. His hope is to grind down their numbers while he tries to find a cure. But he's not a scientist. He's just some guy. So it takes him years to make any progress. There's no lab in his basement filled with mice and past experiments. He does do some experiments, all on women. He ponders for a moment in the book, fleetingly, why he always chooses women. And every experiment ends with the death of the vampire. The movie version of the vampires is much more zombie-like, but in the book, they are vampires, and they resemble the humans that they used to be. They do have an allergy to sunlight and garlic, and all have loss of pigmentation, but otherwise, they look pretty human. They can speak, they have memory. Book Neville's neighbor comes to his house nightly, taunting Neville to come out and face him. It's the only relationship that Neville has for most of the book, this nightly animosity between himself and his neighbor. The book dog is more of a blip in the story. Neville finds a stray dog and after weeks of trying, finally gains the trust of the dog, only to find that it has been infected and lives for just another day before succumbing to the disease. One day while sitting on his porch having a cigarette, after years of living reclusively, a woman stumbles across Neville's path. He shouts at her. It's the first time he's used his voice in so long, he doesn't realize how menacing it sounds. And she's terrified and runs from him. He pounces on her and drags her into his house, elated at the thought of having a companion. He's just so excited at having found another human, he doesn't realize he's essentially kidnapped her. He only thinks he's saving her, which she eventually sees and trusts that he has no intention of harming her. He shares with her all of his discoveries about the plague, and he marvels that there is another survivor besides himself. He wants to sample her blood to ensure that she's not infected. She relents, and upon looking at her blood under the microscope, he discovers that she is one of them. She tells him that she's actually been sent to study him, that society has reformed. Vampires are the new humans, and he's the plague. The book ends with his capture. He's to be executed for his crimes against the new humanity. And when he's brought before the people, he has a moment of clarity where he realizes that to them, he's the thing that goes bump in the night. He is the monster that will snatch you from your bed and kill you while you sleep. He is legend. If you've seen the movie, it's very different from the book. But the alternate ending is closer to the theme in that the monsters aren't what we think they are. Will Smith, with the pictures of all of the vampires he's experimented on behind him, stands facing the monster that only wants his partner back. You see in that final moment that to them, he's the monster. And he realizes it too. I recommend the book. It was a quick read and a great twist of perspective on a vampire story. If you have any thoughts on it or recommendations for me, you can holler at me at I Am Jude JuJu on the socials. And don't forget to listen, rate, and hit that subscribe button, please. And thank you. Estrogen out.